The first of hopefully many real American freestyle events happened over this past weekend, and yes, there was a very nice celebration for the life of its founder, Hulk Hogan, as he unfortunately, as everybody knows at this point in time, was unable to attend. He was, running a little bit late. Too soon? Yeah, I don't really care. A joke's a joke, and the Hulkster would get it. But it really does reinforce just how sad that entire situation was, man. Like that week in July, at the end of July, when, Ozzy kicked off the week, what was that, Tuesday? Like a Tuesday afternoon, he got word that, just days after his final performance, Ozzy shuffles off into heavy metal immortality, and then 2 days later on that Thursday, first thing in the morning, it's revealed that Hulk Hogan passes away. Somebody who is, what the joke was, like he's looked 50 for 40 years now, and what was it? When he slammed Andre at WrestleMania 3, he's 32 or 34 years old? And it's like, holy, he's looked like this forever. And then you've seen a lot of those recent interviews, and it's like, yeah, Hulkster, he's slowing down a little bit, and yeah, you're 71 after all. And then if you were paying attention to some of the, the wrestling trades, you would hear that, oh, the Hulk's not doing so well. But then again, it's weird, right, with wrestlers, because they kind of have a reputation of punching out quite early due to the lifestyle that wrestlers of a certain era would partake in. But once they got to a certain age, they kind of had a tendency to live quite long lives because, okay, the modern of medical mystery and Ric Flair, how he is skirted so close to death, but he is still alive and, well, he's still alive and kicking. He's still giving it hell out there, but yeah, he's very much worse for wear. But you would have thought of, all of those big stars of the 80s and early 90s, it's like Hulk probably was the last person on that list that you would think would punch out because he had so much stuff going for him, including, trying to get a proper amateur wrestling league off the ground. Him and Bischoff and Kurt Angle had even joined up to make this a reality, because here's one of the things, right? Because outside of the Olympics and a couple of world championships, once you go through university, like all of these exceptionally accomplished wrestlers don't really have anywhere to go unless, of course, they want to transition into mixed martial arts. But if you just simply want to apply the trade that you've been working on for well over a decade, by the time that you're, done with college or university, you can't turn pro with that skill. Yeah, very much like the idea that was going on there. And then, of course, having the showmanship of Hulk Hogan, where, he's tried this time and time again. The reality shows, if you remember him being the face of American Gladiators in the, what was that, late 2000s, early 2010s? But at least his iteration of those games went a lot longer than The Rock's did. Just an AstroTurf hack that guy is. But anyways, but I digress. Hogan had his beer brand. He had this wrestling league. There was just so much going for him. And then he needed to go in for a routine medical surgery. I think it was a touch up on his neck or something like that, because depending on what interview he's discussing, he has lingering pains either from dropping the leg for 40 years or because he was working 400 days a year. No, I didn't misspeak on that one. That's one of the many outlandish claims that always made a Hulk Hogan interview worth listening to, both because they're hilarious and because they would always end up making the wrestling rags, because Hulk's mere existence would piss them off to no end. You can see that vitriol that was just bubbling under the surface in the aftermath of his passing. And even till this very day, how they still try to drag him over a month later. It's absolutely absurd. But then you get a story like this. Hulk Hogan's cause of death in question after shocking new surgery details emerge. Ooh, what do we have right here? A potentially massive error during one of his surgeries may have contributed to Hulk Hogan's death. Oh, was the Hulkster killed? Not quite, okay. Was he was he negligently discarded? Oh, perhaps, okay. Hogan's wife, Sky Daly, told TMZ Sports that the WWE legend's phrenic nerve was compromised during a recent surgery. As she also said, an autopsy has been completed, but did not disclose the results. And at this point in time, we still haven't quite seen them. But that could change in the near future. An occupational therapist who was present at Hogan's Clearwater home when the legend stopped breathing told cops at the scene that a surgeon severed his phrenic nerve during a recent surgery, according to the police report, interesting, which TMZ says is on lockdown. I would imagine there's probably a fair number of lawyers that are going over those results right now, okay? Police who were at the home discussed what the therapist told them, and TMZ reports those discussions were captured via body cam. The phrenic nerve controls your diaphragm and is essential to your ability to breathe, according to the Cleveland Clinic. Yeah, you can go ahead and take a look at that, and I will agree. And even if you just compare and contrast some of Hogan's more recent appearances and contrast that with this August 2023 picture, and you can just see how much he's changed in those past couple of years. But for as much as he has physically changed in the past couple of years, his taste in women sure hasn't changed. Okay, that's his third marriage right there. But you would be mistaken if you were just simply to go based on physical descriptions of his wives. According to the Pinellas County Forensic Science Center records obtained by Page 6, his cause of death was ruled as a heart attack, and a history of irregular heartbeats and a history of chronic lymphocytic leukemia, CLL, a type of cancer affecting white blood cells, which was another revelation that nobody knew about. Like, he did not go public with that, which is absolutely wild. So there he is with his first wife, Linda. Hogan's daughter, Brooke, has had questions about the circumstances surrounding her father's death and has offered to pay for an autopsy to get answers. Daly said earlier this month that the wrestling great's cremation was delayed due to questions about his medical care. She told TMZ on Thursday that Hogan has yet to be cremated. Not entirely sure if that's still the case at this very point. If they're still looking into this stuff, either they've gathered all of the evidence that they need and will be getting a more concrete statement in the near future, or they're still investigating, that's interesting, man. Okay, Brooke, 37, further addressed the speculation about her father's death in a series of posts on her Instagram stories on Wednesday. And yeah, that's an entire drama treasure trove that I don't really want to uncover. That's a bunch of family shit, and honestly, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on behind the scenes involving the third wife. Maybe she was pushing Hulk too hard, and it's pretty messy. Okay, here's all I know, so stop speculating, stop asking. I have also informed my brother Nick of all of the information, who is boots on the ground with everything. Brooke started. Fact, I've 100% got legit calls from professionals, from police officials to nurses that were supposedly with my dad on the day of his death, telling me I need to see a body cam footage and I need to get a hold of the 911 tapes because they supposedly contained information that could potentially shed light, or enough light, to change the narrative everyone's been hearing. Those same professionals feel so passionately about what they've witnessed that they are continuing to contact me and push me to find specific answers to this very day. They are quite literally putting their careers at risk because they feel so compelled to do the right thing. So even in death, the consummate worker is still out there working, getting people interested in the results of his autopsy, trying to get to the bottom of the situation. If it was malpractice, if it was just simply a stroke of bad luck, due to complications from a routine surgery. But we all knew, okay, because the joke at the time was, after the passing of Hulk, he couldn't even put Ozzy over. But he has to work one more angle on the way out. You gotta love it. It's quintessential Hulk Hogan. And honestly, all the Hulkamaniacs out there wouldn't have it any other way. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.